Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have an excellent positional game to share with you. This was played at the 2019 World Cup. On the white end, Nihal Sarin playing against Eltaj Safarli. Okay, the opening we have here, Ruy Lopez. I would say this is a model game for this opening and eventual variation we see. Breyer. These are all standard moves here. As soon as e5 is secured by a pawn, Black's ready to go hunting for a bishop. Not so fast. From here, castles, and next up we see h3. Playing in the center straight away. This pin is irritating on the knight, difficult to maintain the tension if the pin is allowed. So first h3, and knight b8. This here signals the Breyer variation. Knight out of the way of the c-pawn. It's ready to now be a contributor, one way or the other. d4 only now, knights connected. I imagine neither player spent a whole lot of time getting to this point. It's a standard one. And even the next handful of moves probably played fairly quickly. Knight b, d2, bishop b7. Before this knight can continue on its typical journey towards g3, some care must be taken over e4. So bishop c2, rook e8, knight f1, bishop f8, knight g3, just in the nick of time, securing e4. Should there be a capture, unleashing this third attacker, we're cool. We have 3 defenders. From here, g6, no knight jump to f5, Black's ready to fianchetto. Where do we go from here? In the game, a4 is played. More tension created. Some pressure on b5. The tension in the center remains. These are instructive moments in the game. The tension here between the pawns, when is that tension released? And when it is released, why was that the moment to release it? A move to shy away from here as white would be the development of the bishop. If you bring it out and about here, let's say to e3, you would be interfering with your defensive e4. Black could take on d4, recapturing with the pawn, maintaining a duo. There would be bishop captures e4. I'm emphasizing bishop there because normally you would take with the knight, but taking with the knight would end up being a blunder. Feel free to examine that further if you'd like. I do have the PGN in the description. Okay, now is not the moment to develop this guy. It is first a4, double fianchetto setup for Black, and bishop d3. This bishop getting quite the workout so far. b5, a4, b3, c2, d3. Before this game is over, it still has a couple more moves in the tank. Now, how to address the pressure here on b5? Black's play is c6. This is the most popular move in the position, at least according to the Lee Chess Masters database. Not top in the computer's eyes, however. Top in the computer's eyes are more direct moves. Wants to go with the capture on d4 or d5. Now, if d5 is played in general, Black would be welcome to a completely liquidated center. With this double fianchetto setup, you're sort of saying, bring it on. Let there be 2 completely open diagonals for these pieces. The line I want to touch on briefly here is this capture on d4. What would be the follow-up exactly if Black is giving up that very big e5 pawn? This duo is now unchallenged by a black pawn. There's a problem here on b5. Well, a computer says immediately challenge these pawns here with a pawn. And the idea here, one of the points at least, is if you capture on b5, you can't take here straight away. You would have to resolve this tension. So, and when you do that, the queen is attracted to this aggressive corner post where she now exerts more pressure on e4. So in such a position, bishop captures b5, you could take on d4, and then e4. Also a capture on c5, there's knight takes c5, another attacker is on this all-important e4 pawn or e4 square. Okay, how it is played in this game. Black, after bishop d3, goes with c6. b5 is secure. At the same time, this bishop no longer sees e4. This is a more appropriate moment for white to now develop the dark square bishop. As soon as there's no longer as much pressure on e4. We see bishop g5 here. Knight's in a pin. Now white knows this post can be questioned straight away, and it is, with h6. So the question here, why provoke this move? Well, it's revealed right now. Queen d2 hits with tempo. Black has to defend that. King h7. Now things are cool here. Where are things not cool? Here. f7 is now unprotected. f7 will be a real sore spot for black, as you will see in this game. Now the follow-up from here is b4. b4 is saying, okay, b pawn, you're not doing anything on b2. Get doing something. You control c5. You take away any lines connected with knight c5. And you're also there maybe supporting an a5 move in some cases. Rather than b4, let's say white, for some reason, picked this moment to finally release this tension. Let me show you how black could respond. Black could consider here the captures on e5 with pieces. So knight takes e5 is there. Rook captures knight you could go with. And in capturing in this way, black is maybe saying, okay, I still have this idea to put pressure on e4, half open e-file, work with it. And also by capturing with the piece, this bishop, the diagonal here, unobstructed by a black pawn. Okay, we do not see the tension resolved. It's b4 from here. Black's follow-up, knight b6. Now, how the computer wants to play it says chop on a4 and then play d5. Okay. In this game, knight b6. I should note that there's been this sort of battle going on in the position, the d4 pawn and the knight on d7. It boxes out the knight, controls these nice forward jumps. As soon as that knight moves, this is the moment to finally release the tension. Now we see the capture on e5 at a moment when black does not have the option to recapture with a piece. A pawn must now recapture. The e-file closed. The diagonal closed because e5 is occupied by a pawn. From here, the attention primarily shifts to the queen side. Kicks off with a5. Where to go with the knight? In the game, knight b d7 is played. If the knight goes to a4, this is how the computer wants to play it. It says put the knight on a4. That could easily end up being trouble for black. This here's the trouble, one of the moves at least. Looking to remove the knight and then sweep into b6. That's going to be painful. Not because you're targeting the queen, but mainly because you would be targeting d8, the all-important pivot that's necessary for black if black is to try and compete for this only opened file or control over it. Black's play is with knight b d7. Where do we go from here? Another very instructive moment in this game. You may think to yourself at this stage, what piece is not doing something for me? This one here. So let me hop to this open file. If you play in that way, you would be throwing away your advantage. White has an advantage here, has some space, needs to follow up in a timely fashion. Rook a1 to d1, not a good idea here. What's important to factor in at this stage is what it is black wants to do. What black wants to do is free this bishop. This is a struggling piece. Black wants to play c5 here. Open up the bishop's eyes. Hint at maybe a capture or a push. If you play rook a to d1 here, c5 is in there. It calls it close to equal. So what's more appropriate here as white is a move that will combat black's idea to finally liberate this light square bishop. And the way to do that is with c4, putting pressure on b5. You play c5, you're dropping b5. Okay, follow up from here, rook a to d8, queen a2, gearing up for a capture on b5, and then f7. Black covers that, plays king g8 here. Now, if black tries something flashy, trying to exploit this unprotected bishop with knight c5, you don't have to take the knight. You could address the threat here, back the bishop off. It's looking at bishop b1 here. Black has to be careful. Again, you don't want to give up control over that b6 square. Knight c5, not played here. It's king g8. Follow up, bishop c2, queen d6. How to defend b4, forget about it. You don't have to defend. White's going on the offensive here. Bishop b3, battery formed, now a threat to chop on b5, f7 with the fork, winning the exchange. Black defends f7, plays queen e7 here. If queen captures b4, we would see the capture on b5. If black now defends this f7 pawn, b6 is a winning idea, establishing a connected pass pawn, just 2 steps away from promotion. Decisive advantage there for white. So the response here to this battery, queen e7, follow up rook a to d1, now a much more appropriate moment to finally activate that queen rook, only after ensuring this bishop does not see the world, only after holding up the c5 advance. There's a big difference here between these light square bishops. Okay, follow up, rook c8, looks awkward, for sure, abandoning this only open file. Why is black playing in this way? Black wants to sneak in c5, wants that pawn break. If black tries c5 here, white could take on b5. And there's, again, this idea too, if black doesn't take on b5 here, you could play b6, connected passer. Here's the thing, if black recaptures on b5, you can take on c5, and black is not in a position to successfully capture away on c5. Knight takes c5. In that position there, the queen would be overloaded, would have the job of defending the knight, and f7, white would be able to take on c5, and then f7, winning the exchange. So c5 still not possible here. One thing I questioned, rather than the move in the game rook c8, what if black tries to maneuver the knight to the weakest square in white's camp, d4? So this path, in other words, here's the thing, as soon as this knight moves, this bishop is going to hurt you. It's going to pounce on these dark squares. Those are the 2 squares black really gives up as soon as that knight moves. That's going to hurt. Where would you go with the queen? Where's your safe square? It doesn't exist. Killer bishops here. You go to e6, chop on b5. You go to c7, bishop b6 with a skewer. Tough days ahead here for black. Black's try is with rook c8. Supporting c5. Okay, now we have knight h4. A couple things going on here. One, white may be hinting at a capture on b5, pinning the f7 pawn, and then knight captures g6 would be available. Also, a knight drop can occur here on this f5 square as a sacrifice. Be a very strong piece. Now, white is not tactically vulnerable after this last move. If black tries this continuation, unleashing the queen, white is going to come out ahead. Let me show you what this looks like. Pac-Man variation, chop, 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 and one more chop. In the end, we're up a bishop. So there isn't a way to take advantage, in other words, not a way to take advantage of the unprotected knight here on h4. It's king f8 here, out of any pin. And now we see c5. Forget about playing c5 yourself. This bishop is dead. Huge difference here between these bishops. Wonderful pivot square now available for a rook here on d6. Black completely out of position here to compete over that d6 square. King on f8. No quick bishop f8 to control it. No rook there on the open file. Black is getting squeezed little by little. Okay, knight b8. At this stage, these two here competing for the title of worst piece in the position. What else to try here? Okay, rook d6 at this stage. Rook on e to d8. And now we see knight g to f5. I'm not going to say that this is a sacrifice. After g captures knight, knight captures pawn, I'm not calling it a sacrifice because the g pawn is no longer around. If you view the g pawn as an important 2-point pawn and a knight established on f5 is worth 4 or 5, it's almost like white is really up material here. That's how crushing this position is here. Rook established on d6, monster piece on f5. And again, these two pieces here, horrible. Queen is hit. Where are you going? Queen goes to c7. Look at all of these pieces here huddled up on the queen side. 25 points of material. There's a couple pieces around on the king side trying to defend the king side here, but they're quickly removed. Very forceful continuation. Now knight captures bishop, king captures knight, king is overloaded. We're finally seeing this tactical flurry only after accumulating all of these positional advantages. Bishop captures h6 check, king captures bishop, rook captures knight check. Where are you supposed to go? If you fall back here, you will lose the queen. Rook f7 is there with a fork. The king steps forward, rook f5 check, king h6, and after queen e2, black resigns. What are you supposed to do about the queen sweeping in to h5 or even g4? There's this idea of queen h5 with check and then a follow-up rook captures f7. White would have 3 on that one. Let's say black made a move here defending f7. There would be a mate in 2 from here. Queen g4 and nothing stops rook h5 next for mate. What a crush here by Sarin. A nice positional game throughout, and only towards the very end, again, only after accumulating all of those positional pluses did we see that tactical flurry breaking down black's king side. And again, look at in this final position, all of these pieces, 25 points of material, all huddled up there on the queen side. Not a single defender here on the king side. Anyhow, your thoughts on this one? Feel free as usual to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.